Welcome to Disconnected. Let's ask some questions. This is a video which I just happened to see, and I thought this clearly explains how utterly confused religious people are and how their logic fails them pretty much at every turn. So let's give this one a watch.
Islam.
So being a Muslim, as you can already imagine, my main problem is with the Christian doctrine of godhood of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of questions that are related. First of all, I find this concept logically fallacious. Like there are many aspects to its logical fallacy, as in maybe one of them.
That's some big words, logical fallacy, and a religious person talking about seeing logic not working is extremely funny.
Would be that how can God be finite and then infinite at the same time? Like this is like it's like saying.
So God who. Just think about this. So his problem is that how can God exist both infinite and finite? So in the form of God and Jesus at the same time. How can that be possible? What about all the other logical fallacies, using his words about what God can and can't do, and what he said and hasn't said and done to people and then said nothing, or it just goes on and on and on. You read the Bible from start to finish and you go, this is one magical fairy tale, like nothing makes sense. But he picks this one out because he doesn't want to agree that Jesus was the Son of God. So he'll pick that one out and go, oh, see, this is a little bit illogical, because how can God be this and that at the same time? Even in their own religion, God is like, can do anything. He's like literally like omnipotent. He can do whatever he wants, be whatever he wants, do change. And yet this is an issue for him. It's like, how can God, who is so powerful, not be, how can he possibly be a human and God at the same time? That suddenly is a stretch. That's a stretch. He can literally make the universe and oceans and moons and tides and fruit and complex human beings, but no. This is the illogical part. How can he be finite and infinite at the same time?
That there could exist a square circle. It's a logical fallacy, right? So when we say that Jesus was God or Son of God, we are actually saying that God existed in finitude during the life of Jesus, and he also is infinite at the same time. This is logically fallacious. Now, because you are you're coming from a historical.
I wish he said fellatio and not fallacious, because that would have been even funnier.
Did you want me to respond to that, or are you having
it's a relate. Like the same question continuing. So because you're coming at it from a historical standpoint, another thing that adds, like the historical evidence that adds, that supports this argument, is that the concept of Trinity, the word Trinity itself, it doesn't appear as a theological term till near the end of the 2nd century after Jesus. So it was first used as trias by Theophilus, the bishop of Antioch, in AD 180. So we can, adding up to that, when you refer to Mark chapter 14, verse 62, which is what you say is the proof that Jesus claimed to be God, are you really applying the same criteria of objectivity that you were applying previously to the Quran when interpreting this as meaning that Jesus is claiming himself to be God? Because if you look at it completely objectively, looking at the entire text, there is nothing in the entire text that's saying that Jesus is claiming to be God. And in fact, the verse that you yourself quote is actually saying Son of Man. So, I mean,
these are great questions. Don't go anywhere. What's your name?
Munzir.
Munzir, where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan. बहुत खुशी हुई आपसे मिलके. I had the exact same questions when I was when I practiced Islam.
Oh, you and me are the same. We came from the same stock. I had the same question when I was still young and stupid. I had the same question. But, I'll tell you the truth now.
What I want to point out is that first and foremost, what we have to see is what Jesus claimed for himself. Now, the secondary stuff that follows, the theological unfolding or unpacking of what he said, we can spend years and years debating what it means. But what did he say about himself?
Well, he never said anything about himself. Some people wrote about some things that he possibly said about himself. This is the difference between people who are religious and scientists, and why a religious person can make such a massive logical boo-boo, like even asking, like, I believe that God is completely, like, you know, he can do whatever he wants, but at the same time, how can he then, how it's illogical that he can be a human and God at the same time. I mean, only a fucking religious person can come up with an argument like that in one sentence, right? So the difference is, scientist goes, or people who are scientifically minded go, and they goes like, oh, you know, we're trying to understand the world, and I've come up with this theory. Yeah, but it's just a theory. Okay, let's test it, and we'll test it, and test it, and test it. Okay, it's either wrong or it's right. And then other scientists will go and they will scrutinize it, and they will test it, and then at some point it becomes the truth because it's been tested, and it keeps coming up with the same result. And so you can say, okay, fair enough, this is the truth. Whereas if you start breaking down or discussing or debating any of the religious texts, it's like you're literally debating other people's bullshit that they have written gazillion years ago, but different people translated many times, translated to their own cause many times. You know, if you're Catholic or Protestant or whatever, you chop and change everything just so a little bit, or you interpret it a little bit. Nothing can be proven except that somebody wrote down some story at some point. That's it. That's all you can prove. There are certain things that correspond in history to the Bible, and they're quite sparse, but that's literally about as much as you can take from it. So even to sit there and spend your whole life debating is such an absolute waste of time. It's like in 1,000 years, you know, the society has completely disappeared. A meteorite hit, or we bombed each other to bits with nuclear weapons, and this last few people that survived slowly but surely created the new society. In 1,000 years from now, in some bunker they find Lord of the Rings, and suddenly this is like, oh my god, this is what our ancestors, this is what our world is built up, this is our Bible now. You know what I mean? Like, you just take some bullshit text from some past and you go, all right, okay, there's no proof, there's no obvious correlation to reality, nothing like that, but I'm going to take this as some sort of truth, and I'm going to live my life according to that. It just baffles me every single time.